Okay, I believe that we are live. I should be on YouTube on at Gwyn Gittens, on Facebook at Gwynetta S. Gittens, and Facebook at Gwyn Gittens Lee School District 5. So good evening, everyone. Make sure my messaging is on. Facebook, let's see. Sean Stream. Okay. And I'm also on. All right. Okay. I think we are on and everything seems to be set up. So let me make sure. I'll get on Facebook Live on here. Again, welcome. I am Gwyn Gittens. And okay, there we go. I'm Gwyn Gittens. I am on the Lee County School Board. I am not representing the school board on this event. This is just myself talking to you, my community. So let me know if you are out there. And okay, let me know if you're out there. And it says that I'm on live on Facebook. And I should be on, let's see, I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and okay, so let's go, gang. I am going to hide these things. And okay, so good evening. And let me know if you have any questions. Let everyone else know that I'm on. Sorry that I'm on late, but I am here. It is a week before. I see 3 people out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. And please let others know that I'm on and I'm live. And I am Gwyn Gittens from Lee County School Board, not a school board sanctioned event. And if you are a board member, you may watch later or you can watch now if you choose. Please just do not participate. I thank you so much for that. Because of sunshine law, we have to be very careful. So, hello, everybody. Don't know how many of you are out there or how many are going to be watching from your sand-filled beach. It is spring break, and I hope that especially my teachers and administrators are having a wonderful, relaxing week. It is unbelievably Thursday. So we only have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 more days of this freedom that you have to relax. And I hope that please, please, please get some rest and relax. We will come back and be ready for the home stretch. Before you know it, it popped up on um, on our calendars the other day about um, graduations. So time is just flying by. If you are in high school and you're a senior, get ready, get ready, get ready. It's going to be very soon that you will be wearing those cap and gowns that you, I'm sure, have ordered by now, sending out those invitations and all of that. So all of your family can be there. And I believe everything will be live this time. Yay! You don't have to. Do it and have people on by Zoom. You'll actually be able to walk down that aisle. So COVID, stay away so that we can do these graduations. You've worked very hard for 12, 13 years, and we can't wait to see you walk down the aisle. A couple of things next week is, can you believe it, another board meeting. So on Monday, I'll pull it all up here. But on Monday we have workshop, and then on Tuesday we have a briefing meeting, and we um, have a briefing meeting, and we'll have the 6 o'clock meeting. A lot of people have asked me, "Are we meeting next week?" Yes, we are. We were off for 2 weeks because of spring break. So it kind of put us in a different schedule, but we will be meeting. The meetings next week are Monday, March 28th, and the workshop agenda, I will tell you in 1 second. Workshop agenda for next Monday is the agenda review. And that's something that I'm quite proud of coming up with, and the board accepted it, and we've been doing it for a couple of years, where we look at the agenda items and we ask questions the day before the action meeting. And the purpose of that is to make sure that we have all the answers to the questions before we vote on something. And it is, so we'll be going over the agenda that you see up on board docs. The agenda is out, and we will be covering recommendation for HR beyond discussion of future whistleblower complaints. In case you don't know, we have started back up full time with the Lighthouse whistleblower line, that if someone sees something, they can say something. If it's an employee or anybody, they can report it to that line and say, we think that something should be done about this, or it seems like this is a waste, fraud, or abuse item, or something to that effect. That's what the Lighthouse line is for. So we're going to be talking about the cases and things that have come in. And there's a couple: whistleblower retaliation, anonymous complaint, Melissa Hatter's complaint, another anonymous complaint, and final investigation report on HR and beyond. So there will be quite a few things that we'll be discussing about the hotline. And I'm super excited the fact that the hotline is back up. And in case you weren't aware, as of the last couple of meetings, we have instituted a contract with RMS, who are our internal auditors. And when anything comes up on the hotline, the complaint line, that is waste, fraud, or abuse, in other words, um, wasteful spending or wasteful use of resources, fraud in some way, or abuse of some policies or statutes or whatever, then that will go to the audit firm, because that way they will look into it. But the clear thing that everybody needs to know. If you make a complaint to the Lighthouse line, the first thing that happens is it goes to our legal department now. It does not go to HR, it goes to the legal department. They, as a group, discuss it and decide whether or not they, whether it's waste, fraud, or abuse, or it's something that should be handled by this department or that department. So that's how those go. So do not be afraid to make a complaint for something, not frivolous complaint, but if you've sat there and thought it through and watched it and really feel uncomfortable about something, that's what that Lighthouse line is for. And we will be talking about that on Monday, the 28th, in our workshop. And we will also be addressing the board attorney's um, evaluation as well. All of those things are out there the on board docs that you can get to through leeschools.net. And hold on for me 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm back. On Tuesday, the 29th, there's a couple of things that we will have. One, now the dog is scratching to get out. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay. Sorry, guys, somebody has come to deliver something. Everything happens once you get online, everybody decides to come. Okay, so Monday afternoon, we have a briefing. Remember, at the workshops, you can attend, but you cannot. Pebbles, please. Here. Okay. At the workshop on Monday, there's no public comment. At the meeting, the briefing on Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock, you can participate. There is public comment, but it has to be just about the items on that agenda. And the items on there will be quarterly reports from the advisory committees. So each quarter, okay. Hi, MJ. Thank you so much for joining. And it says, not sure if my end or yours, but you're freezing up a bit. Thank you for telling me that. And thank you for joining. I had to go off for a minute. The dog is digging a hole in things, and then someone knocked at the door. So we're back on. Thank you, MJ. Okay, so we're back to on Tuesday. We'll be doing the briefing. Someone says that our dog Pebbles is jealous. You know, family and children, when you're busy, they know it, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, I'm over here. Okay, so at the briefing on Tuesday afternoon, you get an opportunity to hear what all of the board advisory committees are doing and have done, and therefore you can speak about any of that if you come to the meeting as well. So the board advisories, they will talk about future enrollment projections and growth. That will be very interesting discussion. It's the 2021-22 school year 10-year projection report. So take a look at that, and I'm sure next Thursday I'll have some more information and we can talk about it. But that's something you guys really want to look at. What are our projections for the student enrollment in the next 10 years? And then also 21-22 capacity, projections. I would be very interested in that one. Take a look at it And that is something that will be very much on my radar. Looking at projections and capacity, that's really what I like to see and talk about. And it's broken down by neighborhoods and boundaries. And I believe this is one of the last reports that we're going to get from Davis Demographics. And Davis Demographics is the company that was hired to do the data for the proximity. Please let me explain this. What, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, Davis Demographics was hired, or more than that, in order to help us do the projections and plans in order to do proximity. Proximity was where there would be a circumference around a school, and it would basically be neighborhood schools. And there were a lot of things that have to be determined and have to be explained and figured out. You can't just draw a circle because there are so many things that have to be considered. Um, Diversity and class sizes and achievement levels and so many things that have to be done. So it was decided that we would not go into using the proximity plan at this point. So we're going to the superintendent, the last one-on-one meeting I had with him, I said, well, some people are hearing that it's going to happen on next fall for elementary school. And he said, no, it is definitely not, that it is being kind of put on the side at this point. And so we are not doing proximity in the 22-23 school year for elementary school. It is being discussed, and I'm sure with the new incoming superintendent, there will be more discussions as to how that will be. This will be a very good thing. They've got student projections, growth according to residential areas, student mobility factors. What that means is how often they move. Um, do students move into an area, go to a school, and 6 months later move? When you look at all of the data about our community and our county, and I heard someone speak the other day that, especially for the East Zone, that a lot of the people of a certain socioeconomic status are moving eastward because of our housing crisis. I was at a meeting today and it was talked about again. We're in a crisis now of housing, folks. And I'm sure many of you listening to me know exactly what I'm talking about, that affordable housing is getting few and far between. And I was listening to a news report this evening on the news, and they were saying about being able to have rent control and say, you can't go over this amount. And it's really hard for me to wrap my head around a duplex apartment that costs, $900 one year, and all of a sudden it's up to almost 2,000. I can't fathom that. And where do they think people are going to live? And some people were saying, oh, there's jobs everywhere, but are the jobs paying enough to keep up with the inflation costs of living, with the gas as it is and the housing as it is? That's one of the main issues for our teachers and our staff and our bus drivers. I will never forget hearing a bus driver at one of our meetings and standing up saying that he was talking to someone who wanted to come to work that day, but couldn't afford gas in their own car to get to work to drive the bus. It's really a crisis that we need to be looking at. So we'll talk about projection and new housing estimates. And I will never forget in one of our meetings uh, the discussion about how yes, the housing market and building is just going up, 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 up. But we also have to consider in certain areas those houses cost 500 million on up. When you get to a certain level and cost of the house, that's less children. And as they said to us, the higher the cost of the house, the less children that it brings. The lower the cost of the house, the more there's children. So if we're putting in off of Milwaukee and Homestead homes within the 200s, then we're probably talking about more children because families will be able to afford that. So we have to watch. It's not just a matter of putting in the houses, but how much are they going to cost? Where are they drawing from? And I'm going to be very, very interested in this Tuesday briefing about the projections and capacity and projects. I can recall having this done, listening to this, listening to a briefing similar to this. And my comment was in 2019, why aren't we looking at this and seeing where the needs are and building where the needs are? So I'm sure it's going to come up again in this discussion. The thing in the briefing is the power buying group. Now, the power buying group, I'm excited about doing this because I was able to get with Susan Millay and some other folks. And I said, look, people, it's hard to understand. It's hard for me, as well as many other people, to understand when we speak in edukeys and all this jargon. And if you work with that every day, you understand it. But if you don't, just break it down. So I am excited about the fact that I said, look, make it like a cartoon, make it visual. Some people are visual and they can understand with that. There's been the misconception in our community about those chill storage units that we were using, and if we didn't do this, we should do this. So we're going to finally be able to show you in a simplistic way. Truck of food over here delivers here, or it's parked. It delivers it and it stays in the chill rooms, and then it's delivered to the school. All that stuff will be broken down, and I'm so excited. And I really thank Miss Millay and her team for making it simple to clarify to people. Every time I see anything like that where everybody can understand, I'm really excited. So I will let them know I'm very happy about what they did as well. There's a change order memo. That means that they're asking for some more money to do something. And this change order is for materials and $2 million for which project? Construction project at MM Middle School. So they're going to explain why they need more money to finish off a specific job. That's what change orders are all about. In other words, we have budgeted this. We've come to the board and asked you for this. Something's come up, so we need more money, and we're going to come back and explain why. I'm not going to go into that because there's another one as well. There's 2 change orders, and we will be discussing those. I have a feeling that they're going to have to do with projects. I am not against doing the change orders. I know that things happen. I just think we really, as a district as a whole, not blaming any employees, but as a whole, we need to plan a little bit better. When we set our budgets, we need to, and I'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, so that is the briefing meeting, and there is public comment, but only on the quarterly reports, the future growth and enrollment. And if you're available, you may want to come to talk about that. If you don't want to talk about it at 6 o'clock, because you can do that as well at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. The power buying group has been a big issue about how our kids get food, where they get it, how they get it, and how much it costs. So that's going to be explained. And then there will be 2 change orders. So stay tuned for that one. The next thing is our regular action meeting at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 29th. And our agenda for that is, let's see. Okay, we have the school-related employee of the year, the Lee County teacher of the year, all those exciting things. Positive behavior prevention, the wrestling champions, the soccer champions, the swimming champions. I'm so excited that this is starting up again, that we can give the recognition to students that are very deserving. Okay, and MJ says that's a key across multiple socioeconomic levels. Middle class retirees may not be able to afford insurance. Yes, and they actually can't even afford housing or their medication, and it goes on and it goes on. So hopefully we'll have some really good discussions about that. So we are going to be we're going to be recognizing the Mariner High School, let's see, freshman 1 class 2A state in weight class 113 pounds, 138 pounds, and 170 pounds. I can't even lift 5 pounds of the flour, so I know I need to get back in shape. But congratulations to them. We've also got the state swimming champions, and they are Cape Coral High School, Melissa Blaine, Estero High School, Giliana Carlini. So 100 backstroke state titles and 200 individual medley state titles. And then one that is near and dear to my heart because I know the coach very, very well. And these are the Mariner High School girls varsity soccer team. First time ever to bring home state. Way to go, Jamie and your team. So we will be honoring them on Tuesday, and I'm excited about that. There will be public comment. A word of advice: look at the agenda, look at the things on the briefings and all of that prior to, and talk about some of the current issues that we're about to vote on, because that is very helpful. So we have academic affiliation with the doctor, we have early childhood, we have faster care and faster career dual enrollment expansion grant. We've got a Perkins grant. We've got Amendment 1, ESSER. I believe we've come to some conclusions on spending that ESSER or that COVID money is what I call it. And the bargaining and all that came to a conclusion last week. And I'm hopeful that in this next week when they meet again, that they will come to a conclusion about bargaining for the salaries for this year. And you may not know that, but what they've been bargaining on is not the coming 22-23 school year salaries. What they have been bargaining on is the ESSER funds, which are non-recurring. In other words, when they're done next year, they're not a part of the budget anymore. So the tricky part of that is giving bonuses and stipends to people using funds that in a year and a half we won't still have. So they can't be in that salary base. And they'll explain some of that as well. So they'll talk about the ESSER funds. Let's see, instructional math, uh, property records. Property records is where we lost a stapler. No, not that silly, but equipment that was purchased and somehow it's either aged out or worn out or whatever, or they can't find it. Somebody moved offices and it didn't go, and then it got somewhere else. So that's what we're talking about there. Johns Eastern, let's see, another grant. Science teacher bonuses, Berry University, University of Phoenix, St. Pete College. We have programs along with them. Operations, we're talking about. A lot of these are piggyback grants and renewal of contracts. What a piggyback means is, let's say it's gasoline or fuel. And if we as one district need this amount of fuel and Collier and Hendry need this amount, if we put it together, it's one big amount and we can get a better price. So that's what the piggyback contracts are. Let's see, approval of certificate of facilities data. I always look at that because that means that there's something that's going to be built. And okay, they're going to be talking about the fish report. The fish report is where DOE, Department of Education, requires us once a year to say in each and every one of your schools what is the usage. How much space is being used, how many classrooms, how many this, how many that. And I'm not seeing any questions from you guys except from MJ. So I don't know what's going on, but it shows that I'm on the Gwyn Gittens School Board District 5 and I'm on YouTube. So if you're not on one of those, I don't understand why we're not. Okay. Anyway, otherwise, afterwards, I will put this up on all of my social media, and you can still ask me questions whenever after the fact as well. So, and I will answer them even if I have to come back on and answer. So the fish report is something that is very important. When I was a teacher and I was attempting to be an administrator with Lee County Schools, one of the mentorships that I did one summer was to work with Dominic Giminelli and goodness, his name just left me, but in operations. And that was my job, was to work on the fish report and determine were there any schools that had space that could be used for something and it was not being used. And right now we're using everything, including the broom closets. And the fish report, though, is where we get into the portable issue. Because if we say to DOE, Department of Education, we want to build another school, and they look at our fish report for that particular school that we're saying is way overcrowded. And if all of the rooms are full, all the possible rooms are full, and you've got 20 portables out back that are not over 20 years of age, they could be 18, 19, but they're not over 20, then they will say to you, you actually have enough space, because between the classrooms and those below 20-year-old portables that you're using that you own, that's saying you do have enough space. Those are counted as classroom space. That is why I go so crazy all the time about having those portables, because until we get rid of those portable classrooms, we go to DOE and they say, but you have enough classrooms. I hope you understand what I'm saying. But when we don't have those portables out there and we've got 30 kids in a math and a science and a reading class, then DOE says, yeah, you need more space. You need to expand this school or to add a new school. And folks, I'm going to tell you, I am very much in favor of expansion of schools. And I got pushback on that saying, well, we don't want schools to be too big. Well, here's the actuality of it. We still have, like at the old Lambs, we had 1,450 kids for a school building that was built for like 900 and something. So it was a big school. If you add on the space, those 1,450 are spread out. You've got space, you've got room, okay? So MJ says, so having the portables prevents the schools from showing a need for space. Yes, because DOE says you've got those classrooms in those portables that you have put out there. So the more portables we add in, the more it looks to Tallahassee that we don't need the extra space. We've got classrooms. Now, here's the tricky part. If we want to add on, take away some of those portables and add on to that building, instead of having 10 portables, we add 10 classrooms onto the brick and mortar building. That is what the half-cent tax is for. And we don't have to say to DOE, Mother, may I pretty please add on 10 classrooms? Because we're what? Not using money from them. We're using money from our community. That's why the half-cent tax money is so important. And when I get absolutely insane when I drive up to a school and it says, this is your half-cent sales tax money at work. And when you look at the budget, only this much of that is being done through the half-cent sales tax. Lambs, for example, the new one. The building originally was on paper for 1,450 seats. They said to us, we're only going to build it for 1,250. I said, why? And I was told, because we have all these other portables, so therefore DOE will not, and I quote, DOE will not allow us to build this many, to use this many seats. But I was told, but by the head of finance, we can build the extra 200-300 seats and use the sales tax money. And I quote, that's what it's for. So I said, let's do it. So yes, Carol, and yes, MJ, I get it. It doesn't make sense to me either. But so that brand new school should have been built originally for 1,450, but DOE says you got this many portable seats already, you can only build for 1,250. We should have at that moment decided to take sales tax money, add it to the other funds, and build the whole school. But at the time they said, no, it's too late. We'll just build it for 1,250. And when we build the elementary school next to it, then we'll add on the other seats. So Lehigh Acres Middle, the new one, opened with, instead of 1,250, they had it 1.13 something. So every time you go over that number that it's meant for, that's how you get the 20 to 30 students in a core math, a remedial reading, all of those classes packed, because you don't have the rooms to spread them out. And the other thing that happens is teachers get frustrated, because it's very hard to teach a remedial math class that you should have 15 or 20 kids in, and you've got 30. It's just a vicious circle that goes around and around when we don't do what we say we're supposed to do and going to do. That tax money should have been used to build that school out so we never, from opening until now, had such crowding. And the other thing about Lambs, the new one, when they moved the students from the old Lehigh Acres Middle at Veterans Park and they put them in the brand new building, what that meant was they had told us, oh, you're going to get a brand new middle school. And we're, yay, okay, because Varsity Lakes is overcrowded and Harns Marsh is overcrowded and so is Lambs, and they've got all these extra kids and portables, so we can take some from this school and some from this one and some from this one and put them in the new school and finally reduce the sizes. They took the students from Lehigh Acres Middle, moved them into the new school, and didn't put any other kids in that school because they had to remodel it. So for the 21-22 school year, Varsity and Harms Marsh and Okamic were crowded because here sat a school seats that we did not use. Okay. Exactly how much will it cost to finish Lambs? Well, here's the story on that one. When they moved the kids out, this is me speaking, this is not a board thing. The intent all along was to put in a performing arts center and have a big performing arts campus. I am not against that. It's totally fine. It's wonderful. But we lost seats because instead of having a new 1,450 seats, they moved those students into the new school, and they're moving the 6th to 8th graders from the front VPAA building into that building. Where's our new seats? We don't have them. And they're supposed to be taking away when they remodeled the old Lambs. The project first came to us that here's a pocket of money, and I believe it was 54 million. I have to check. And with this pocket of money, we're going to build a performing arts center and revive the old Lambs building. When they started the project, they had no idea whether it was going to be middle school or, exceptional ESE school or what it was going to be. Again, why don't we sit down and plan before we start digging up the dirt? So I'm not sure how much it's going to cost, but originally this pot of money of 54 million, part was for the Performing Arts Center and part was for Lambs. And suddenly, because they didn't do it ahead of time, they went into the old Lambs building and thought, this is going to cost a little bit more than we thought. So this is not going to be a 50-50 split of this bucket. This amount for the center and this amount for the school. We need more of it over here than we thought. So they came back. I don't know where in the article that I read that said we're going to need 12 million more for the old Lambs renovation. I've been in there 2 or 3 times. I used to work there. And when I read the article that came from the district saying that it's down to the studs, in some rooms, in some areas, they took away some of the walls and they reconfigured. For the most part, the basic walls and structure of that school was not gutted. And if I need to, I'll go in and take pictures and show you and explain. And I'll walk through and say, this is what is being done. This is what was here before. This is what's being done. It was not gutted as that article would make you think. let me get to your comments here. So the answer to your question, Julian, is I read $12 million increase. At our last board meeting, they came to us and asked for 55,000. Because remember, this bucket of money was for what? For the theater and for remodeling the school. They came to us and said, oh, but when we moved the 6th to 8th graders out of that front building into the remodeled middle school, where the middle schoolers were, we have to do some remodeling and retrofitting for the K through 5 students to use that area, because DOE tells you areas and space and seats and all are different for K through 5 than they are for 6 to 8 middle schoolers. That's the secret of how we lost seats. So they came to us and said, oh, we've got to remodel the part of the front building now. And that wasn't a part of this bucket. And we don't know how much it's going to be. So we need 55,000 additional to pay the architect to tell us how much more we need to put in this bucket to remodel the front of the building. So my question was, I want to see, and I sent an email as public record. I said, look, this is all getting really confused. You've got Veterans Park Academy as a project. It has phases. Phase 1 is to fix up the old Lambs building. Phase 2 should be to fix up the classrooms in the front, but that's 3. The other phase would be the Performing Arts Center, or Black Box Theater is where it started. I don't even know what phase 4 is. And in the article, they said the 4 phases, but the next phase is going to be to build a Performing Arts Center. I'm just like, anyway. Okay, so Carol says, I'm hearing that they're going to add a theater and move VPA Middle into Old Lambs. That is correct. But when you move, remember, VPAA in the front is what? K through 8. When you remove the 6 through 8 middle school kids and staff and all of that, and the science labs and everything that's not needed for K through 5, you've got to retrofit that area too. That was never as a part of the drawing board. Shouldn't they be building a new middle school near East High School? I'm not sure about the location. I think it should be closer to somewhere between Gunnery and Lee on Leonard, but I don't know if we have the property over there. When you look at the briefing meeting on Tuesday, and they're talking about growth and projections in the next 10 years, watch that very closely. Davis Demographics, when they were looking at proximity, gave us maps that were like heat maps, and each child was a dot. And so we had this map in the east zone, children were a blue dot. And there were some areas just to the east of 82 that there were so many blue dots, it was just all solid blue. So to me, when you're making those projections, take a look at where those sections are. The problem with out near East Lee was kind of a mistake on the lake. It was one of these things that when growth was really hot in Lehigh back in 2007 or so, they projected that where East is now, southward, was going to just blow up with homes, with affordable homes, so that people with children would be moving in, and that's why East was put there. When they built it, the children were not there yet. So it became the busing school, and that's when I was working there. Kids were bused from Fort Myers, from Dunbar, from, Olga and Alva, all over the place, to come to East Lee County High School. because there weren't enough children in the proximity. But the plan was, as it builds up, then you have to bus less kids in, but the building didn't continue expeditiously like they thought. So now it is a school. It is an issue. Where are the students to go there? And I've got some ideas about that, but I can't say them yet. Okay. What other questions? Any other questions that you guys have? I think I've covered you. So anyway, that in our meeting, that fish certification and all that's going to be a big deal. And I would say that's why we do the agenda review on Monday. That will be one of my major questions. So we will talk about the items on the agenda at 6:00 on Tuesday, but we'll talk about them Monday afternoon. So if you want to hear the discussions about these, then make sure you listen into that. Carol says, North Fort Myers Middle School side was exactly the same configuration as the old lands. Couldn't they look at those plans? You know, Carol, at one point, we had a plan for a middle school, a plan for an elementary school, and a plan for a high school that we owned. And every time a high school, when you go into South Fort Myers and you go into Island Coast, they look the same. When you go into many of the high schools, South and East, they look the same. Where they went off the grid was when they built Bonita High School, and it was totally different. And I remember people kicking up about that because we've already paid the architect, we have the plan, we know it works. Why do we need to do a whole new plan because it's over here? Just saying, think about it. We have plans for schools that we have used that footprint. I can understand making some tweaking to it based on the area, based on the need, and but I just really think it's a waste of money that every time we build a school in one area, it's according to the cookie cutter blueprint. In another area, oh no, we got to add this and we got to add that. And then let's sit down and come up with and pay an architect one time for a plan that can be adjusted. Not, let's just start all over. We need the state of the art. That art is going to change every year. Every year there's a new architect that comes out of college that comes up with the greatest school plan ever. Do we need to keep doing that? Or do we need to spend that money somewhere else? Just build a school. It costs so much less to do additions on schools, and it alleviates the problem. But they don't want to look at additions on schools. I have until maybe August, depends on, guys. I'm up for office again. And in August, it's August 23rd is going to be really, 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 really important because it just depends on how many people come out. I could not be sitting at the dais. But as I told them, I'm either sitting up there on the mic or I'm standing in the back on the mic. These issues are important and they must be looked at. It's your children. It is your taxes. It is our children, really. So, yeah, a lot of stuff is going on. I will, at some time, I want to come on and share my screen and go over the article that came out on Monday from the district about Veterans Park Academy. I was very upset about that article, especially when they say in the end that it's going to allow property values to go up in the East Zone because we have this 500-seat beautiful auditorium. What business are we in? Number one, educating children. not entertaining the community. That is an extra. We have 3 high schools within 5 miles of each other. One has a 650 seat auditorium. One has 700 and some seats. One has over 900, Lehigh Senior. And if someone wants to do a dance performance, rent out some of the ones that we have. It is not our job or duty to provide somewhere for a dance performance to be held. It's an extra, it's something that's not necessary, especially when we have children still and teachers still in portables. And I will fight that. Thank you, James, and thank you, Carol. I will fight that until I can't speak anymore, until they take my name tag away. I was at an event a couple of days ago and I had on my board name tag, and someone says, "Oh, are you supposed to wear that? This is a political thing." I said, "I'm still on the Lee County School Board. I can wear it wherever I want." So until I'm not on there, I will wear it and I will represent. Like I said, I represent 96,000 students, and I am the voice for the students in the East Zone that don't have a voice. I think I've kept you guys long enough. I came on late, but you got me started asking me these questions. So thank you so very much for tuning in. Share this out, spread it with everybody. I will still go back on and answer questions. I've got somebody looking into my social media because there's something funny going on that people are saying they can't find me and it's not on, but I'm here. And it doesn't matter if you see me when I'm live or see me afterwards and ask me a question. I am here. I'm Gwyn Gittens. I'm on the Lee County School Board and I represent my community. Thank you all so much. Have a great evening and we'll talk again soon. I'll be back.